Hi, let's talk about one of the very useful Excel features for visualizing data, which is conditional formatting. Let's say you have a large data set with a lot of columns and numbers. It can be difficult to understand the data in this very raw format. So for example, I've downloaded some exoplanet data from NASA. So my leftmost column shows the planet name. And then some of the other columns of more interest to us will be things like the stellar temperature and the distance away from Earth in parsecs. Conditional formatting allows us to apply formatting based on the data in the cell. Let's start by highlighting our data and going to the conditional formatting dropdown. You can see some preloaded options for us, like let's try one of these color scales. This applies a color gradient to the entire data set across columns. So you can see our highest values are the stellar temperatures indicated by green, and the lowest are the declination, which are negative, indicated by red. This doesn't really make sense for us. For example, the discovery year can't really be compared to the stellar temperature in this way. Let's go back into the dropdown and clear that rule. Highlight our data again, and let's create our own rule. So we say new rule. You see a lot of options here that look similar to the preloaded ones with the color gradients, but let's go down to the bottom and use a formula to determine which cells to format. For example, let's say we want the stars with really high temperatures to pop out visually. We can type a conditional statement as equals H2 greater than 6,000. Now let's go to our format and let's apply a fill. Let's make those cells orange. Now when we say OK, you can see it's done something a little unusual. It's only applied that rule to the first column of our selected data. So this star has a stellar temperature greater than 6,000, but it's only highlighted this cell. That doesn't make a lot of sense for us visually. We probably want to highlight the whole row. To do that, let's go back in and manage rule. Let's edit that rule. And we're going to type a $sign before the column. So $H2 greater than 6,000. Now when we hit OK, it applies that rule to the entire row. Let's clear that format. And maybe we don't have anything that we want to pop out, but we just want this data to be easier to read. Something very common that we would want to do is apply a fill to every other row. To do this, first we need to understand a couple of Excel functions. The first one is the row function. So I'm just going to type it in here below my data so you can see what it does. Row, open and close parentheses, and it simply returns the row number of the cell in which the formula is contained. If I drag that down, you can see that's pretty straightforward. Now we want to use the mod function. And the mod function applies the mathematical mod operator. So the first input is the number, and the second input is the divisor. One thing that mod is really useful for is differentiating between even and odd numbers, since an odd number modded by 2 will be 1, and an even number modded by 2 will be 0. So let's combine these two functions. Let's say equals mod row with 2 as the divisor. Now, when we drag this down, you can see that the odd rows return 1 and the even rows return 0. So let's use that in conditional formatting. We'll select our data, create a new rule, and use a formula. And now we're going to type in equals mod row, comma 2 equals 0. And let's make our format fill those with this kind of light gray. And now you can see that the even rows are highlighted gray, and the odd rows do not have any highlighting. We could change that to be, if we wanted the odd rows to be highlighted, we can just say equals 1. And now the odd rows are highlighted.